Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to route out this young calf's head, cow, and the flowers with the router, removing all the coloured sections, so all the pink, white and the green. That'll all be removed, just leaving a nice framework of the black, and we'll leave this black at either side. We'll paint all that nicely black and all that framework, and then we'll incorporate resin to finish the project off, and inside the ears as well. Recycled pine today for the wood. This would have started life as a wardrobe before I got my hands on it, so we're going to bring it back to life again. Try and look for free wood if you can. I look on Facebook and stuff, free items, and if somebody's throwing a table out or wardrobe, it's for free, especially someone that's just starting off. Get your send round here, get it picked it up, get it stripped down in a matter of 5-10 minutes, and you've got plenty of wood to play with. It won't be the best wood in the world, but if you're just starting out, you've got free wood to start you going with. Now the template, we just printed that out to fit. I've stuck it down with painter's tape, and I use good old carbon paper underneath or graphite paper. Nice and fresh piece, not this piece. This has been around my shed since I started doing these projects. And just pop it in, get a nice pencil, and just literally just draw around, pencil, pen, it doesn't matter, and that will have the image printed on the other side. There's different ways of doing things. Some people just stick that template straight down and route over the top. I've tried that. There's thinners and lacquers and transfers. There's lots of different ways to transfer the image. Good old carbon paper and trace works for me. Now for routing out sections, I like to use these CNC bits. These are nice and new. First time, these came the other day. So we've got some nice new bits. They have a Dremel size shaft on them. 3.175. And they will fit a Dremel no problem if you have the Dremel router attachment. However, for a 1/4 inch router, you need an adapter reducer collet, 6.35mm. And you literally just slot your CNC bit into there. That will now fit your router, no problem whatsoever. Put the bit into the silver end and the black end goes into your router. And that will work perfect. I'll use this for all my lines, literally up to the line. I never very rarely route out on the line. Or up to the line on that side, and we'll go up to the line on that side. We'll do that around all the areas we want to remove. Once we've done that, we can safely remove the CNC bit, and I like to go onto these end milling bits. These are all eBay or Amazon, and they're fairly cheap to purchase. Today we can afford to get quite a large one. It's quite a simple one today, nothing too fantastic, and that slots in the same way up to your little barrier. You can also get these pieces, these bits without the barrier on, so don't be concerned if you can't find them. That's quite a recent thing, is that bit of plastic on there. And we'll set it to the same depth, which is going to be 3mm today, and that is literally the same thickness as your piece. I've just made a little groove in a piece of wood. You can purchase depth gauges if so. So that's 3mm, and we use that one to remove all the penciled sections, and it just takes you 2 minutes. If you just a shade in the areas that you want to remove, and we'll keep doing this as we go along. We will be rubbing it out with the side of our hands, because you'll go away, come back, and you'll start routing out the clear sections. Oh, that's the end of the project. So take your time to shade in the areas you want to remove, or the areas that you want to leave, just whichever suits you guys. So we've got that. We've got our CNC bit for the lines. We've got our end milling bits in the adapter, and we're all good to start routing this one out. There is bigger pieces out there, and there's also fancier bits, profile bits, liner bits, spiral up cups, but they all come with a big price tag. So cheap eBay specials, they work for me. And if you're just starting out, why go out and blow a load of money on something that you find 2 days down the line routing is just not for you. So once we've routed it all out, we will cut it out on a scroll saw. We'll talk about that near the time. Give it all nice tidy up, and all those sections we've removed, we're going to come in with some nice resin, a nice pink resin or white, and really fill it up with resin, and we'll see the effect we've got. and the wood that's left we'll just paint black. Okay, let's pop this 20°. That's just the angle of the cut at the end. It don't really matter on this project because remember we are going to fill it all in with resin. So we'll pop that in the router, set it to 3mm, and we'll start routing this one out. Right, you can see from that, just about, should I say, we've gone all the way around with those CNC bits right up to the line. And you can see I've gone there with the CNC bit, and you can just to say see the pencil line at the same time. So never route on the line itself, always up to the line. So we've done it all. So all that's left now is to start removing all the shaded bits. Remember, just keep an eye on those, reshade them in if you have to, like so. And for that we're going to use end milling bits. Like I said previously, there's other bits out there. There's some lovely fantastic bits, but they do come with a fantastic price tag. So if you're just starting off, you won't go wrong with a packet of CNC bits and a packet of end miller bits. I will put a description at the end for those that maybe want to try and give it a go. So it's just a simple case of removing the CNC bit. We will get a lot more projects out of that. Slotting our end milling bit, fairly small to start off with. Remember, we've got to get into these corner of these leaves and stuff. We'll set it to 3mm or whatever these are set up, which is 3. You notice here I've already removed one, so we'll set it to that same depth and basically start removing all the shaded areas. If we find it's a little bit too slow, we might pop on one of those end milling bits, straight flush bits, should I say. But personally myself, the cutting out really easy is this one. The only thing I do find with recycled pine and stuff, it's quite dusty, but once we give it a nice clean out, it will look different again. Okay, let's pop this one back into our router at the same depth, and we'll start clearing this one out. Right, you can see from that we've gone round with those end milling bits and they've cleared out really nice. This wood's gone really smooth and we won't need to touch that back section at all. We will go around once we've cut it out with a little Dremel flexi cable and an engraving bit, a bit of sandpaper and then a mouse sander just to generally tidy it up. We do want to round these edges off a bit, especially around there. Give it a little bit of shape. It's not going to be a carving piece, but just enough to take all these sharp edges off. And we'll round all these off slightly as well. Just before that, we're going to cut it out on a scroll saw. You could leave it on that if you wanted to, and lower the background slightly, or you could just to say route in a little frame on that and paint the background and sand it all down nicely. I'm going to cut it out, and for me personally, I like to use these spiral blades. The good thing about spiral blades, the teeth are literally spiraled the full length of the blade, so they will cut in any direction. Ideal for a big piece like this. You're not going to be able to turn this on a standard scroll saw. Whereas with a spiral blade, we could start there and literally just feed that up and keep that wood the same shape all the way and all the way around like so. So spiral blades for me, they are a pinless blade. So for my old drapper, unfortunately I require these adapter clamps. Simply top and bottom and an Allen key, tighten them, and you hook them on as if it would be a pin blade. This is what a pin blade looks like. These are on your more cheaper standard saws, and they do have a pin at both ends, and they'll just hook on like so, with the teeth facing you. They want to be smooth on the way down and rough on the way up. That way you know you've got your blade in the right way. And you could use this on this project no problem, because there's no fancy, no awkward cuts to do. However, if you're doing a lot of inner cuts that are quite small and delicate, they do a pinless blade, and they even come smaller than this. And therefore more fancier saws have a clamp at top and a clamp at bottom, teeth facing the same way as the other one. They're ideal if you imagine where to cut out inside that small eye section. You would drill a pilot hole and you could feed that through, no problem. If you're using a pin blade, you just wouldn't get it through that hole because the pins would be in the way. So I'll pop on this spiral blade now, Pegas number 5, and we'll literally just cut this one out, and then we'll do our little general tidy up, and then we'll be on to our next stage. Right, we've made it all the way round with our Pegas number 5 spiral blade. That cut that wood out, no problem whatsoever. You can see from that. It's quite dusty, that's just nature of the wood and those spiral blades. So you get quite a lot of dust down here, but we'll soon sort that out. So we'll go around, bit of sandpaper, get rid of our little knobblies off the back there. And we want to round these edges off a little bit and just give it a little bit more shape than what it is at this moment in time. I like to go around with these cheap eBay engraving bits. Get one with a nice flat bottom, and we'll probably use a sanding drum on this one just to give it a little bit more shaping around there. And we'll just take those little edges off. Good bit of good old-fashioned sandpaper, and then we'll skim over it all with a mouse sander for that. For the engraving bits, I cannot recommend one of these enough. Absolutely fantastic. Just a cheap eBay special flexi cable that attaches to the end of your Dremel, and that's ideal with a nice flat bottomed engraving bit. You can see there, just about there we go, nice flat bottom on it, and we'll use that just to go around there and give it all a general tidying up. Remember, it doesn't have to be too fantastic. We're going to cover all this in with resin. It's more these edges that we want to work on. Right, let's give it a good tidying up and then be ready for popping some black paint on before the resin goes in. Right, that's enough general tidying up, sanding down for me. Like I said previously, we don't need to focus on the back so much, and that's probably the smoothest bit there is, because that's all going to be covered in resin. If resin is not your thing, you could put paint in just as easy. You'd actually put your paint in now, your white, your pinks and your green, and then give it a nice sanding over, and then paint all this black. But I'm going to put resin in, so we have to do it the other way around. We will paint it all black, and then we'll pour the resin in afterwards, and hopefully the nice white resin and the pink resin will stand up nicely against the black. Now, I know it's a wooden project and it's a shame to paint the wood sometimes. I'm sure there's some of you woodworkers out there thinking that's sacrilege to paint that, but unfortunately with this project it needs to be done. Now, I have a spray black which I could spray just as easy, but for me I'm going to go for good old painter's touch paint. I use this on a lot of my projects, and it's just a simple case of just painting it. And I'm actually going to paint inside these sections here, because we're going to allow the paint to help seal the side walls of the routed out section. All these fresh pieces that we've routed out, paint can bleed into that, or your resin might bleed into that. But hopefully, because we're painting the full piece, the paint will help seal that. And depending how shiny and black it is, if it's not shiny enough, we'll also spray some varnish on before the resin goes in. So just a simple case of putting it on like so, and just cover the whole thing. And like I say, we'll get right inside those like that, and right inside those walls there. You can throw it on fairly easy. I like the first one just to soak in, and then we'll come back and give it a second coat. So we'll come back when this is nicely done, and then hopefully, if we haven't put some varnish on, we'll be on to the resin stage. Right, you can see from that we've painted all the black in, went over twice with that painter's touch paint. And even though it was a gloss paint, it just wasn't quite shiny enough for me. So 3 or 4 coats of the nice Paint Factory gloss varnish just to finish it up. That's varnished now as if it was a finished project, because once we put the resin in, once that resin's cured, that will be the finished project. On other projects I've done, I've overfilled slightly with the resin and sanded it all flush, and then clear coated the full piece with resin or sprayed it with a nice varnish. On this one, we're just going to fill them in enough just so you can still feel that routed out effect. So it'll be near flush, but just not enough, and then just let us feel the routed out areas. You'll see as we start filling it up. But you can see from that, it's got a nice shine to it now, and that's plenty near enough for what I need. And we also did the sides, and we also popped a bit of paint on the black, just back should I say, just to finish it off. And now we're ready for filling. Let's go and find some resin, and we'll start filling this one in. Once it's complete and cured, this little project will be finished. Right, we'll start filling this one in with resin. I'm using Vista 1 today. All your resins are 2-parters. You get A, your resin, and B, your hardener. It's a 1-to-1 mix, which basically, whatever you put in of the A, we're going to put exactly the same amount in of the B. I use these little cheap plastic party cups, and they're ideal because they do have little grooves up the side, and I'll basically mark off what I think I need for the day. So I've gone up 4 little grooves for A, the resin, and we do exactly the same for B, the hardener. So we'll pour B in there, pour A in there, and then mix B into the A, only because B flows a little bit easier. They do say transfer them both into a 3rd container. Personally, I've never done that, and I've never had any issues. So we'll mix up the bit of resin that we need. Then obviously we need to colour it. For me, I just use cheap acrylic paints. There's only 3 colours on this one today. Those there, and it's just a little smidge. You don't need a lot, a little dab. There is dyes and inks out there. I've got a bag full of them that I don't even use anymore. So acrylic paint for me. And for mixing wise, same again, just cheap little party plastic knife and forks and spoons. These are ideal because they do come with a little lip on the back there. And once we start mixing, we can use that to scoop out with and pour into our little project. Okay, I'll mix this all off camera because it's standard stuff. Have a nice mask to wear, get plenty of ventilation, put your gloves on, and when we come back, we can start filling this one in. Right, there's all our resin nicely mixed up. We're going to do the leaves first, so I've transferred some into a separate one, just in case we want to do a darker shade of green or something. That's just a simple case of popping a bit of acrylic paint in there. A couple of dobs like that. You can always add a little bit more if you want to, but you don't go too crazy. And that soon mixes that up nicely like so. Give it a nice mix around. And like I said previously, you can use these spoons to make nice little scoops like so. So now it's just a simple case of filling it in a little bit at a time. We don't have to go too crazy. We can do one leaf at a time, like so. So a little bit in there, and then we can simply move on. And I like to mark off the areas that we want to put the green in, and then we can go back and chop them afterwards. Find yourself a little cocktail stick, and you can use that just to help it along its way, like so. And it's going to be the same procedure through the whole thing. But once you've got your resin all in, you just simply get a lighter, like so, and we just skim over the top, and that just helps any little bubbles disappear in the resin. Okay, we'll get the general idea from that. I'm going to continue and fill this in, and when we come back, we'll be somewhere towards the finishing line. Right, that's all nicely filled in now. Just take your time. You can do a couple of colours one day, and obviously you can come back another day and do the rest. There's no rush for these kind of projects. So we've filled it all in nicely. So just grab yourself a little lighter of some description and literally just skim over the top like so. And you'll see all those little air bubbles disappearing. And we'll put some over here as well. And that's it. We'll leave this for a good 24 hours to 48 hours to get nice and solid. Find a cover for it, a little canopy of some description, because any dust or flies, they'll be attracted to this, no problem whatsoever. So that's it for now. So we'll put it to one side. We'll come back in a good 48 hours. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. It's just about 24 hours later. Personally, I would leave it 2 or 3 days. They do say some resin takes up to 30 days to cure. I do have my own opinions on that. But for 24 hours later, you can see from that, everything's nice and solid. It's not going to run away on you. And we've had no issues with that whatsoever. We will get a better look outside under natural lighting. So we'll take it outside in a minute, and we'll see it in a better light. So that's it. This little project is finished. If you remember, we routed it out with CNC bits and end milling bits to do all the clear out. We then literally painted it with painter's touch paint. Gloss I like to use there. However, it just wasn't shiny enough for me, so I sprayed on some varnish afterwards. That just gave it a really nice shine on the wood. And then we basically mixed Vista 1 resin with just cheap acrylic paints and just started filling it all in. Just leaving that nice little lip. We haven't overfilled it, so you can just about make out the routed out areas, and that's just filled in nicely. And because we've put the paint on and the gloss, we've got no bleeding whatsoever, and you can see from that come out really nice and really sweet. And that's it. So 21" by 17" routed out on recycled pine. This little project is finished. Thank you very much for watching.